So Legacy has a vertical system for mounting parts. The tricky bit is getting it set up and mounted correctly and finding the edges. So I'm going to show you a new technique that I haven't showed before. It uses an edge finder that I brought from my machine shop. It spins at about 12 to 1500 RPM. It has two parts with a little spring in between holding the shaft that goes into the tool holder from this little pin that's locating pin that's on the end. That pin rubs against my part, and I'll be able to find the exact edge or within 1/1000th of an inch using that edge finder. So that's what we're going to be up to today. Hang on, we're going to have a lot of fun. Now I'm going to use the vertical joining system, set at 90 degrees or perfectly vertical. I've set up a fence in here, and this fence goes just to the floor. It has a stop that I can raise and lower, so that each part, as I put it in, will come to exactly the same position. Makes it easier as I'm doing production work. I'm using a J-clamp, and I got this from my welding area, and it just goes into this 5/8 hole, and then I can bring it up against the material and a couple of turns of the lever, and it is nice and secure. Let's do one on the top. And we're doing the CNC work. The CNC is going to do its job. Our job is to make sure we locate it, secure it, and then I've got to find these two edges, the back, this side here, and the back side. When we find those two edges, then the machine will know where to run the code that I wrote to cut my little dovetails there, or my isolot pins. So as I said, we have to find this edge and this edge. There are a bunch of different ways to do that. Most of the guys around here use a laser, and you get the laser dot down to about 10 to 15 thousandths, and when you split the dot, you're pretty close. I'll be honest, my eyes aren't that good, so I use a different method called an edge finder, and I brought this from my machine shop. We're going to put that in the machine first, and then we'll show you how to use that to find the edges. I'm just going to walk through this step by step. This is my tool holder. This is the tool. This is the part that we use as the probe. There's no electronics. It's all mechanical. This little tip is held in place with a spring that connects it to the shaft. That lets it move around, but when you get really close, it all lines up, and that's how you know where you're at. I'll show you that. We'll give you a close-up of that. Right now, we've got to get a tool in here. So I'm going to go, first of all, to my vertical table page here. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to my tool page over here. So I'm on the vertical table screen. I'm on the tool page, and I'm going to go here by pickup tool. There's a little black box that says 1 in it. I'm going to change that to 12. And 12 is more than 7, and I only have 7 tool holders on the machine. So it knows that when I hit pick up the tool, it will put the other one away. Let's do that. So it put the tool away that I had warmed it up with. Now it wants me to put this one in. So it's brought up here, we're in manual tool change mode. On the screen, I have a button that says release tool. Then I'm just going to push that in there. You'll hear the air stop. When I hit clamp, it's secure. Because I told it I was going to pick up number 12, when you look at the tool and spindle, it says 12. So if I wanted to put this tool away, it wouldn't go to the rack. It would come back up here to me because it's in manual tool change mode. Now the next thing I'm going to do to make this easy for me is I'm going to hit the control, go to the control page. From the control page, I have different things I can do with the machine, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to jog feed rate right over here in the right-hand corner. It's at 100, that's 100%. I'm going to make it about 20%. So I'm going to hit enter, says 20 there. Now when I move the gantry or move the spindle, it moves much more slowly. All right. My goal here is to set this tool about 1/4 of an inch behind this surface and about in the middle of it. So I'm just going to jog till I get there, and then we're going to turn the spindle on, and I'll show you how to use that edge finder. Let's go forward. Now the x-axis is much faster, so it jumps a little bit faster. I'm going to get a little closer. I'm going to go down. And right now, about that much of the tip, about 1/4 of an inch, is below the top edge of the part. So I'm ready to go. So the next step is I have to turn the spindle on. I have to do that manually. Now routers usually run at 16 to 18, 20,000, 24,000 at a max. But we don't want to run this tool that fast. This tool can only turn less than 2,000 RPM. I'm going to go at 1,500. So I need to go to execute MDI on this control page. I'm going to go to that little black box beside it, and I'm going to hit the box. Then I get this pop-up keyboard, and I want an S 1,500, and we'll hit enter. Okay, now the machine knows what the last speed was, so I'm going to hit execute MDI, which won't turn the spindle on, but it will set the new speed to 1,500. And now I'm going to hit the start spindle button. Takes a minute for it to warm up. There it comes. All right, now we're going to see what's going on. Now, as you can see, that little tip is not centered, and so it's just flopping around, and that's exactly what we want. We'll know more when we get closer to the material. So we're going to start jogging it forward, and rather than having it bang into the part, I'm going to move to the step jog mode. I'll put a screenshot up here so you can see what buttons I'm pushing. We'll carry on from there. I've gone to step jog. I'm going to go to 0.1 increments, and I'm going to use my jog arrow keys to move forward 1/10 at a time until I get close. I'm going to go just a little bit, about 0.1, deeper. That looks all right. No, I don't want to be that deep. Okay. Let's see what we can see. Yeah, we can still see that all right. I'm going to get a little bit closer now, so I'm going to go on to 0.1 and then keep stepping towards the material. Now here you can see that there's very little wobble. I'm going to get in a little bit closer and take another shot of it. Now I'm very close. I'm going to jog once or twice more. Now you can see how it's shifted this direction. I was moving 10,000ths of it at a time, so I know I'm really close, but I'm not on. So I'm going to back off of that and then step in 1/1000th of an inch at a time until we see the same thing happen. We see that step. Now, it just shifted. I moved forward 1,000th and it shifted. So I know I'm 1,000th too far. So I'm going to back up one step. It will not bounce back to the center because of the way the spring works, but now I've identified where the edge is. Okay, we'll quiet things down a little bit. I'm going to stay in step jog, but I'm just going to raise this up in the z-axis until it clears the material. Okay. Now we know a couple of things. We know we're up above the material, we're going to clear it. We know that we're half the diameter of that little pin from being aligned with the edge of my part. That pin is exactly 0.2, and I'm in my step jog at 0.1. So if I move my gantry this direction, one step, then I will be right at the edge. Now I set this up earlier, and here in the DRO it says 0.002. So I'm going to hit 0 here. I'm within 2,000ths, so that's a very small amount, of where I was when I set it up this morning. So now I'm there. The spindle is moved to where the center of the shaft is at the edge. So I'm ready to zero that out. I've set that work offset. I actually already did zero that out. Okay, so once we've moved it forward 1/10 of an inch and then set that to 0, this is the 0 point or the back of my part. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the y-axis or the far edge. I'm going to only be moving in the y-axis, and we're going to use the step jog for most of that. So I'm going to go out to a wider shot because you've seen the steps, and we're just going to repeat. You've seen the steps, we're just going to repeat the same steps again on the y-axis. So in step jog mode, I'm going to use my y-axis using the arrows. I'm going to move that over 1/10 of an inch at a time till I'm just beyond the edge. Now I'm going to go down a couple of, make sure I don't crash my tool. That would be bad. Now we're going to turn our spindle on. I'm moving 2/10 forward twice, bumping the jog button so that I'm close to the middle of that 3/4 inch part. I could actually go one more and I'd be just right about the middle. Now I'm going to go back to my small step, so I'm just going to go to 10 thousandths and start moving the opposite direction. So I'm hitting the jog arrow that goes up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jog. I'm at 10 thousandths increments. I'm going to jog towards the material. Now you can see the pin is settling down. Now you can see it zero it off. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. So I'm going to go back till it lines itself up again. Now I'm going to move to 1/1000th increments, and I'm going to just move slowly until I see that move again. So it's jumped. I'm going to move back just one touch, 1/1000th of an inch. We'll stop the spindle, get rid of that extra noise. We're going to go back to step jog in the positive 0.1, so the plus button. I'm going to jog up first so we don't bump into anything. Get it above the material. Then I'm going to move towards the material 1/10 of an inch, which is what my step jog is set. I'm going to move towards the material 0.1 inches. That's what we're set out on the step jog. So that will put the center of the part perfectly at the edge. The center that puts the center of the spindle or the tool exactly at the edge. So now I can go to my work offset page. Let's switch the camera around. Okay, now that I'm aligned with the center of the tool at the edge of the part, I'm just going to go here to my y-axis, and I'm going to hit 0 here. Now my DRO currently reads 3 thousandths. So we'll 0 that. So I was off 3 thousandths from where I set it up this morning. It was a lot colder this morning, a little moisture. The wood may have changed just a little bit, but we're talking about a human hair is about 10 thousandths, so we're literally splitting hairs. So now we've set up the part, we are ready to make parts. We're ready to make some sawdust. So now we've found the edge of our material. It's all set up. We're ready to make parts. Notice that we're at G59 here, which is the x-axis fixed fence. So I know I'm in the right work offset. I know I have my 0 set. I'm ready to load code and watch the sawdust fly. Now, the only thing I have to do is get ready to run the part. I've got in my machine, if I turn step jog off here, in the machine I've got a setup tool. We can't cut with that. So we're going to raise this up. We're going to go back to that tool page. And we had the release tool, clamp tool. So I'm going to hold the tool, hit the release tool. I'm going to clamp the tool so it doesn't sit there and blow air. But I'm going to put this in my toolbox. We're going to go pick up a tool and make some sawdust.